main areas to improve and improved during the summer. After that, I will talk about the bug fixes I did with the current solution, and after that I will talk about how could we have real table size, because we will see in the next minutes that the current solution, inner solution we have is not a real style, but rather a smart template. And after that I will talk about an optimization I did related to docx tables opening time, and after that I will give a short summary about the work. So let's get to the next slide. Why do we need size at all? We need size because we want to apply formattings fast and uniformly, and with the capability of changing only the size. That means that if we change only the size, then automatically all of the tables where the style is applied on would update itself. And the current solution is called auto format, and it is not a real style but rather a smart template. What I mean under the word template, I mean that in the ODF specification it is called table template, and basically it gives us formattings for every cell in the table, and it determines what formattings we must apply on the cells. And what's the problem with the OSL compatibility? docx table styles are converted into direct formattings now, which is very fragile and very slow right now. So I will now talk about the most main problems I fixed during the summer. First was a missing format update of tables, which had a workaround previously to save the document and reload. And here it is a picture. What I want to show you that we see three tables which have the box list screen auto format table styles applied on, and we updated the color scheme of the first table, and we want to update the selected style in the right toolbar, as we can see. And after we update, we click on this update selected style button. Now it is propagated to the other tables too, which was not the case before the fix. So the next bug was about losing table style after copying and pasting the table. Right now in the pictures you can see the after solution, the fixed solution. So we have a table which has the box list blue auto format table style applied on, and we copy and paste it, and it still has the box list blue auto format style applied on. And I had a page break disappearing problem when we apply the style. Here you can see a table which have a page break set in, and the next picture we applied the auto format table, and we can see that the table jumped back to the first page, and now after the fix it doesn't jump back. So it is fixed too, and there was also a fix which I will not show you right now because it is complicated to demonstrate, but it was quite annoying too. So how could we have real table styles? We have some problems with mapping the ODT's table template to docx table style, because the inner solution right now uses hard formattings which override every other predefined paragraph style or other formattings, and it gives us a hard time to implement the auto update functionality of a real style, and the other main problem is the inheritance, because in the specification table templates doesn't really give us a solution to implement this style inheritance functionality. So it's quite hard to map this table template to DocX table style. And another solution could be to reuse an unmerged implementation from a previous case of project. It implemented real table styles, but got not merged, and I successfully built a branch, but had no time left to test what is done and what is not. So it is ahead of us, and yeah. And I optimized the DocX tables opening time, and it was about that Microsoft Office, when exporting a document, the direct character formattings which are applied in tables are applied, exported into the run and the paragraph sections in the XML file. So we can see this in the Word, Microsoft Office Word, that I did this very simple table and applied some character formattings on the Word in the first cell. And the problem is that LibreOffice, when we want to add the new row, it copies only the paragraph formattings, paragraph level formattings, when we apply a new row. And so we needed to apply this direct character formattings on paragraph level 2, and this caused the double appliance of the same properties. Here it is a picture about this double appliance. So we can see in the red area that the same properties in the paragraph formattings are applied in the character formattings too. So this double appliance is very slow, and right now the fix changed this thing to doing this appliance, double appliance, only in runtime and only if you need it. So what I mean when I say only if you need it, it means that we only copy this character formattings on paragraph level 2 when we want to add the new row right before it. And this optimization resulted 20% improvement in the opening time with the reported document. So I think that's quite a good improvement. And let me give you a short summary about what have I done. So finally, we can use this inner solution, this auto format solution, without the annoying paths. So we can format tables uniformly and easily. And I think this is the most important question at the end of the day. And the DocX import got optimized too. And the experience I gathered is a great foundation for the future work. So I talked about the feature branch I got built successfully, and all of that, this experience I gathered is great for the future work. So I wanted to talk about this in this presentation. So thanks for the attention, and goodbye.
I'm Tomasz. I'd like to present the GSAP work of Panos Korovesis. I was the mentor for this project together with Niklas Raina, and the project was about making the SVM format independent from the VCL metafile. So the idea, first I'd like to present what the idea was for this project. First is that to finish all the tests of the SVM format. This means that first we would like to test the format reading and writing so that we can avoid any regressions. I already done most of the tests, so the idea was to let the GSOC student, the Panos, finish the tests. There were some meta actions still missing that needed to be completed, and this was the first part. The second part is to make the SVM format reader and writer, which are independent from the meta file itself. So first, the idea here is to create some readers and writers and then move all the meta actions subclasses inside this reader and writer and remove them inside the meta actions itself. So how did he proceed to this? Okay, with he had like 5 phases. In phase 1, he implemented the commented out tests, which are the tests that were still missing. The idea there was that the tests itself are like round trip tests. So first reading, the test reads the meta file and then writes it and then reads it again. And this, because we want to avoid that there are any regressions, we also use SVM files that are created with a writer and persisted inside LibreOffice and compare them so that we make sure that backwards compatibility isn't broken, so that all SVM meta files can still be read. And in phase 2, he added a SVM reader class and started moving all meta actions, reads and subclasses into the SVM reader and added them as a new method. Then, to make sure that nothing is broken, he ran the tests with a new SVM reader and everything should still be working as it was working before. So all the tests should pass. Phase 3 is similar to phase 2, just instead of the reader, I added a writer class and moved all the meta action write and subclasses into the SVM writer class as a new method. And then again, check the test. The test must still pass. The new SVM writer should work in the same way as the old implementation. In the phase 5, then he looked through the whole LibreOffice source code and replaced all the users of the old, like GDI meta file read, GDI meta file write, and replace it with the new SVM reader read and SVM reader write methods or calls to these classes. And lastly, in the phase 1, he removed the old previous implementations. And this is like GDI meta file everywhere, GDI meta file write, and everywhere that is connected with GDI meta file read and write GDI meta file, read GDI meta file functions, and also all the meta action write subclasses and meta action read subclasses. So now that we have done this, the purpose is what we can do in the future is that we can start refactoring the meta file, and also as long as we keep the backwards compatibility, so keep all the tests working, the SVM meta file reading should still work and we should not have any problems. If you're interested in more details about the work, this is the Panos Panos's final report for the GSOC project on this URL, and he goes much into the details there. Thanks for listening, and thanks for Panos to do the work, and bye-bye.
Good day, everyone.
Thorsten? It was starting a new video, but it suddenly stopped. I don't know if it was intentional or...
So I should be back now. Let me get this. Let me get this the screen going. So the last, but certainly not the least, would now be presented by Heiko. It's the project with the external data source from Calc. Heiko, should I present the slides from here, or are you screen sharing from your side?
Let me share my screen.
I think it's easier also with the sound that seems to follow the. Okay, so I will shut up here and then over to you.
It was a little bit in a hurry to prepare the slides, so this presentation is not on video and it does not go into the details. It just is some kind of reference to Tushar Kumar Ray, who did the work during this GSOC project. It is about external data source in Calc. Never heard about this before, and actually we do have means to open documents, means to load streams from external sources. Why do we need another one? Thing is, this functionality has been implemented in the previous GSOCs, and it is meant to not load data from a stream, but also modify it before you load it into the document. And the good thing is that the inserted data just need to be updated later, and you get the transformations. That is what is the modifications being called. The transformations are applied later. I will tell you later what a transformation is, but so far, just as an introduction, this GSOC project by Tushar was about to improve the UI, which is a little bit my part here, to support it, to also add transformation and to implement a data provider. The previous dialog was looking like this, a large grid here and some weird controls, just a random placement of controls. So we discussed what is necessary for achieving the goal. And this is first of all maybe this preview, and we show a preview in our dialogues at the right. Then we have some workflow which starts with sources. You need to set up the data type, whether it's HTML or CSV or whatever, and the source and so on. Setup to get the data is done at the top, and below we get a list of transformations. You pick the transformation from drop down, configure this transformation, and you have means to add and remove. And when all these transformations are done, you can apply the changes and see in the preview how the data coming from the source look like. That was the mockup, and it was implemented more or less in this way. This is animated GIF from the application. It is master, but I think it is available in 7.2. What you do is to enter the data. Here I created just some random values in a CSV file, configured the URL on top. Do I get a mouse? Here is a cursor. The URL, I set up the location of the CSV file, and I have a data provider which is telling these the dialogues, the function, that it is a CSV. And then you apply transformations. whatever you want in a sequence that you define. It starts with, what do I do with transformation? I do power 2 here on this column, which makes a 4 to a 16. No, a cube. 4 a power 4 or whatever it is. Then we delete this column and it starts with B. If you would press OK, this data goes into your document and you can do the modification. So far from the UI changes and how this workflow is done, the technical bits, I have to refer you to the actual implementation. Tushar wrote a blog post on how it was done. He updated much of this underlying class, fixed a couple of bugs, added a lot of transformations. I believe it was not just find and replace and delete and swap. To my understanding, the choice of transformation is a bit random and we get quite many meanwhile, but it's a different question if things are really needed or not. And last but not least, the extension data provider. If you want to get more insights here, just take a look at the code or ask Tushar or Marcus Moorhead, who was the technical mentor for this project. Unfortunately, he is not in the civilization today or tonight, so I have to present it. That's from my side.
Heiko, I'm sorry, Thorsten. There is a question from Cisco. He's asking if the data provided is still experimental.
Whew, that's a good question. I think it is experimental. We discussed before this GSOC session whether to completely remove the data provider. Now, of course, it is much more polished now, and we could think about to make it non-experimental. Yes, of course.
Thank you so much. So I think you were about to hand over to Thorsten back.
Exactly.
Okay, come on, Thorsten.
Awesome. Thanks a
Or I
lot.
can also maybe demo the final result of the last Google Summer of Code project that is not really tied to LibreOffice itself, but integrates the context information into WebBlade and provides a framework for infra to update those incrementally. And I'll try to share my screen. Whether it works or not, we will see. Which one is it? Browser window. So many are open. Let's see. I'm not sure whether you can see it. You should be able to.
Yes, works well.
And basically, what the user visible result is the screenshot in WebBlade. Basically, now after this change, it's possible to have these screenshots that are generated by our make screenshot target linked to the translation files that are done by make translations after a build, and then query WebBlade for the WebBlade IDs that are used by WebBlade and link them and upload them using the API and maintain them using the API. And for example, here you have the screenshot for the grid options, and you can click on it and it should be displayed in larger view basically. And this helps basically to find related strings to prevent ambiguities in strings and make it hopefully easier for translators to translate the strings. And currently, the extended help strings are not added into the screenshot because we were not sure whether we should include the screenshots and then don't have the string visible in the screenshot or not. So the code has the option to enable it and also just use the same screenshot there. But of course, the future idea is basically to highlight the element that you would hover over to get that extended tip, basically. But this is not yet done. And yeah, basically, the major part of the thing is not the screenshot generation. This was already there, but basically to make maintaining the list of screenshots easier. For example, whenever a screenshot is uploaded, we are creating the visual snapshot ID for the file, so we know that this screenshot did change or did not change between runs, and this makes it easier to maintain the 700 plus screenshots we would have. And yeah, this is basically all there is to it, and not much else to show on the end user facing part. But yeah, I'm happy that it was done. It needs some final polish, basically code Pylint and PyDoc fixes, and then it can be merged. I just didn't get around to finish it before the conference. Otherwise, it would already be public on the main instance and not on our testing server. But yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. Thanks for jumping in here.
If you want, I can jump in again and present the last missing project. Quickly.
I think we have the time, moderators, do we? Until 5:15, right?
Yes, we have still 50 minutes.
Just a minute. This project is from Anshu Kare, or my pronunciation is likely wrong. Kare. The task was to realize this styles highlighted, to see in the document what paragraph style have been applied to the paragraphs. And to achieve this, we need a kind of text style view in the stylist that brings together the paragraph style and the character style. It turned out that this task is alone a huge GSOC project, so we limited. Michael Gansky was the mentor here, the technical mentor. We limited the project to bring these two things together. And the code is available here. It was working, but right now I tried to compile, it does not. And there are some concerns about the implementation. Anshu did a lot of refactoring with the existing code, so even that is an improvement. The stylist, this dialog, going back, that we have right now to show a list or a tree with paragraph styles, and in another view the character styles. This code has 1,500 lines, and the C++ implementation, so it is kind of a spaghetti code. It has improved a bit, and now what is missing is the application to the two views in the stylist. So far.
In the meanwhile, I was wrong. In theory, you would have 40 minutes at the moment. No, sorry, 35. But in practice, let's say that your talk is the last one, so you could span as long as you want, unless I have to bring my daughter to the gym. But this is another stuff.
Or maybe we can have we can field some questions or have some general discussion instead. I don't know if there's any questions.
Oh, I can't see any in the chat room at the moment, and I don't know. I can see neither in the chat of Jitsi. So I would say go on, and let's see if in the meanwhile, before the ending of the talk, they will arise.
Okay, so maybe a few more. So first of all, thanks again for everyone making this happen. I think there is some echo. That's not from my side.
Yes, there is. I'm looking where.
So let me just mute here. I hope that's better now. Yeah, thanks to everyone making this another successful GSOC season. Obviously, perhaps there is not only GSOC out there, so there's quite a number of mentoring programs all over the place by now. GSOC was certainly one of the first to pioneer that, but we've also been applying for, or have been accepted to a Chinese government sponsored open source program. Unfortunately, there were no students, so that might need a bit of, thanks a lot, Ilmari, by the way, for running most of that. There were no students being interested, but that's a bit of a chicken egg problem. So if you have low community involvement in an area or a locale, then it's also harder to get the word out for GSOC. But there's a number of other programs like open source projects running their own mentoring program, possibly something for us to look into, or the Outreachy program, which is focusing on or primarily supporting underrepresented people, so to kind of get the project a bit more diverse. And certainly those are things that as we mature, as we grow as a project and as a community and as TDF, to start looking into. And in fact, we did with the actual first time that we were trying to go for another, not only GSOC, but another mentoring program. So perhaps that is a bit of an outlook, and we are always happy for input, good ideas, also good project ideas. That's another area where input is greatly appreciated. Ideally, that comes just jointly with a mentor. Well, a good project idea is nice if it attracts good students. Obviously, we can't have an official project without people willing to mentor. On the other hand, if there's a very interesting project, most of the time we do find mentors, unless it's something that really otherwise wouldn't fit into the project strategy or product, how people envisage that. Any more thoughts on that? Programs that we missed, maybe.
You meant if there are any suggestions at the moment, but I can't see any. But no. I was looking also in the other charts.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'd say let's stop 15 minutes early, unless there's questions in some chat or what the discussions here. I would say let's wait a minute and then Gabriele, what do you think, and then close the session?
It's fine for me. I mean, indeed, we are half an hour early, regardless. I mean, the troubles we had with the video, so it's fine. Let's see if in last minute some question arises. Otherwise, we can close it earlier. I'm fine, and no problem for that. It's okay. Oh, someone is writing, Marina. Yes, we have a question from Marina, and I will read it as far as she writes in real time. Meanwhile, I could sing Marina's song. I'm joking, obviously. And in the midpoint, don't we think we have at the GSOC one that actually would last 90 minutes? Oh, it's a comment from Clove. I have a question. Is there a target about age for the GSOC? Because I'm not aware about the GSOC project, so forgive my ignorance. So it's a simple question, just because I'm also thinking to not only universities but possibly high schools. In the meanwhile, Marina wrote the question, but please, could you answer to mine, please, first? Did you hear me, Thorsten?
Yes, but unfortunately, I didn't catch any actual question. Just the meta talk around.
I was just asking if there is a limit on the age for participants to GSOC.
So the yes, so the for Google Summer of Code, the prerequisites are officially enrolled as a student. So that means university, college, not high school,
Okay.
and 18 years or older.
Okay, great. Thank you. In the meanwhile, Marina wrote the question. Thorsten, are you really interested to go with outreaches? I remember we discussed it in the past, but there was no real intention to mentor there. I'm just reporting.
Yes, personally, I'm very much interested in that. The problem is that you need to. So first of all, it's Google Summer of Code. Essentially, the project gets paid. The mentors, like the mentoring organization, gets paid, and the students get paid by the by Google. For Outreachy, the organizations need to pay both students and also essentially you give some money to Outreachy, and then Outreachy pays the student. And so as a project, it's a bit more work and it's more costly for the organization. And of course, it helps then to have like we have now with Hossein, which I'm very, very happy about, to have like mentoring capacity on the TDF side that we have kind of guaranteed. So that you can commit to something, because for GSOC, it's a bit like you offer something, and if there's a student mentor match and Google likes it and gives you the slot, then you have a go. And for Outreach, you need to kind of commit in advance, which is a bit harder for volunteer mentors that we have. But I think we should be in a much better position now to look into that, or similar things. I mean, there's, for example, KDE has some Winter of Code program, which is much more suitable for the European university holiday schedule or free time schedule. And it's also something that we could possibly look into. And I mean, the discussion last time, we had a serious discussion about that. It's quite a number of years in the past, and TDF has grown not only from like project size, but also like maturity of the organization, number of euros in the bank that we could possibly spend on that. So I think it's just a different discussion and a different time. And I'm positive that we could start looking into that. And of course, it's not an either or. It's more like how can we broaden that? GSOC tends to, like, and increasingly so over the years, tends to attract a very specific kind of student. Great work happening there. Just that because of the timing, because of the way it's run, because of the eligibility, like who can actually apply for GSOC. There's a number of people who are naturally not able, or it's not so easy for them. So kind of having something, a second or a third mentoring program that would kind of balance that a bit, that I would appreciate.
There is a reply from Marina. She says, if I'm not mistaken, Outreaches is not development only.
The outreachy or?
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, outreach is not development only, and there is also the possibility to start slow and initially just be a sponsoring organization.
Yes, well, of course, that is a bit less. I think that's less interesting. Certainly, if you want to do that, you would. I mean, it's not interesting. It's just perhaps for me a bit less interesting. That's more than like we did from TDF. We did sponsor open source projects that we care about, either by donation or by funding some bug fixing. And that would be something perhaps for outreach as well. I mean, predominantly in this context of mentoring programs, obviously what we want is then having a student or a number of students being mentored under that umbrella. And I'm not actually too much up to date, but what kind of work would be eligible? Certainly, Google Summer of Code is the headline is this is purely about development, but obviously there's gray area, like when does development stop and when is it purely web design? So there's quite some area in between that you can say, well, this is still development, but actually it's about, I don't know, redoing a website. But it's kind of lots of that is JavaScript, and so it's programming. So it's not that black and white, and certainly we would have enough areas where we would want to mentor people. So that the fact that it might be more than just development, I think that's not a downside.
I see her typing, so I guess that. Our reply is coming, but I do.
I should maybe just let me check. Is that on Telegram? Is that on Telegram? I mean, I can maybe just go and.
Yes, it's in Telegram room too. I also invited to join the room in Jitsi, but I mean, I'm here. I don't want to. How to say? Well, if you're interested, we can discuss it better and come with a proposal for the next budget ranking.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing on the channel.
Yeah, I see it.
Yes. So for me, the gating criteria really was and it was kind of on my pile of to-do items. The gating criteria for me is to have mentoring capacity at TDF, which is the case now. So we can start now revisiting and looking into that. And of course, then as a project, we need to, at some stage, we don't have infinite resources. So at some stage, we need to decide what to prioritize and how to distribute the budget. So it's exactly where it belongs, like into the budget discussion.
She says she can't join the call now, but it's okay. I mean, we've been able to read and reply.
Yes, I'm sure we will all keep talking to each other, and like board and MC, we will have sessions next week.
Yes, I confirm it.
And there will be some more deliberation about budget more towards the end of the year, or latest in January, and then let's all sit down and think about it.
Well, I hope so, even if usually there's not so much time to open discussions. But by the way, I hope we will have the chance to.
So I mean, what really matters for all of this is having mentor capacity, and for the development side, we have a mentor now. We already have mentors for documentation and for QA. And if there's a program where we can introduce students into the more intricate parts of the project there, and have mentor capacity that we're sure that we can commit to because they're on TDF staff, or we have volunteer mentors who also can commit that they would be available, given constraints on time and kind of project, I don't see a problem.
I just have an example of other possibilities. With the French community, there is a partnership with a university. Students are learning translation, and with their department of translation, they have contributed to the documentation in French. So that could be also done through local communities and universities, and mentoring was shared by the community.
And I totally forgot about that, but we had this Google season of docs, I think 2 seasons, that Olivier and I think Sophie, were you also involved with that?
I was not involved, but Olivier, yes, was involved, and but this year we were not selected.
Yeah, and I think well, Google kind of was, I don't know what happened there, but kind of reshuffling and rejiggering things there, and a number of things, like also I think there's some was this there was some pupil program, Google Code In, I think they stopped doing that as well. So perhaps, yeah, and indeed, like time to sit down as a project, like all of us, and see what worked well in the past, but we would like perhaps to continue if we can, and if Google is not paying up, then perhaps TDF could, or we could. I mean, the perfect setup really, I think, is something like collaborations with universities, if we could scale that, because then somehow students would get credits for the work they're doing. All students need to do some practice work anyway, and if they could get credits for their open source contributions, that would really be win-win. So students would spend their time usefully, and open source projects would get contributions.
Yes, it is something that we. Oh, sorry. Please.
We would still need to kind of provide the mentoring bandwidth, but we have the problem anyway.
Yes, and in our case, open badges were recognized by the university, so that was a real plus for them.
Yeah, but I'm kind of positive. So we have, I mean, also with this, as you say, with those student ambassadors, so we have a number of things that we started, and that I'm sure that will bear fruit over the years. Certainly Corona didn't help with that particular project, but we all hope that's going to be over soon.
Is there a table of conversion between the open badges and the credits of university?
Open badges are something that you can use through universities, but also some companies recognize them, like IBM, for example.
Great, good to know. I didn't know. I was joking, but not joking so much, meaning that, obviously it is kind of, a word that deserves attention, and especially because we issue that, with not so easily. So I'm convinced about, the goodness, let's say, of the media, but I was kind of asking how much is recognized for the rest of the world, meaning indeed the universities or companies or whatever. And I'm glad to know, and glad to listen that they are somehow recognized. Good. And by the way, this is something that we've been discussing in the past many times about, collaborating with universities, and I think it's definitely the future of the foundation itself and the project, just because what I used to say, and I've seen so many times in other entities, just like associations and so on, if you don't plan, and if you don't strive to have new generations coming in, obviously, the future is gray, at least from my point of view, at least.
Right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Google Summer of Code came to be, to provide some like to encourage students do open source, and then with the hope that a few of them might stick around. But also for that, it really helps to have mentoring capacity in any shape and form at TDF, because that usually there's this the GSOC project is over, and the coursework starts again, and then it gets real work, like to keep people engaged and to keep the contact. And that's something that most of the time, unless it was a student that was already active in the community, that we were not very good at retaining students who usually then just moved on. We had a few returning students. We also had, especially in the early years of the project, like stellar people that became even maintainers of certain parts of LibreOffice who started as a student. But it's not like in recent years. And part of the problem really is that personally keeping the ties, and that's hard if as a volunteer mentor, life goes on for you as well. And then having that a bit more formalized and with somebody who really can spend time on that, I hope will work as well. And then it also makes sense to kind of broaden that a bit. Like, it doesn't make sense to scale to 15 students if we cannot retain them, so then we have 15 unfinished projects.
You're right, but I think that it's physiological that, in every kind of, let's say, enrollment, you have this kind of effect, meaning that not everyone stays and stick around. But I don't think we could do anything about that. At least it's not that easy. We should be more appealing probably to retain them. But and yes, we should try working on that. But anyway, I think that it's physiological. It's some kind of bias. So,
but let's definitely continue the discussion. I think time is over. I don't know if there's any adjacent talk. Otherwise, we can keep chatting.
Theoretically, we have still 12 minutes, so there is time. If you have time, we have time.
Sure. we can also involve, like, we can, I don't know, turn the camera around and have the entire room.
To be honest, I would love that.
Which is the beauty of having a hybrid conference, that there's a room,
yes, please,
with a number of other people who might have some even mentors from this year's GSOC and past GSOCs are in this room.
Great. Please turn the camera and let us see the audience there.
Yeah, there's more metaphorically speaking. If I need to turn the camera, I need to turn the laptop, and then all the plugs will fall out. It's more like getting everyone on stage. Come on, people.
That was a challenge, but by the way, okay.
Yeah, we switched. Definitely. So this hybrid setup is a bit more challenging in a sense, because you need to kind of factor in all kinds of trouble, and you need to kind of have safety margins everywhere and everything in duplicate. And I think, but I like the setup, and there's so on the off chance we can't meet in person next year, then I certainly have a list of things then to improve, including having a dedicated video grabbing setup, as FOSDEM has it. Like, you just come, bring your laptop, plug it in, and then you have a HDMI splitter that one goes to the projector and the other one goes to recording laptop. So we have, like, the recording stuff is kind of fixed and doesn't break as often as it does now. And some nicer microphones. So we are kind of static here with this one microphone, and it doesn't really capture the room so well. So having some lapel microphones that I think TDF purchased, I think 2 of them for Mike and his video interviews, and that sort of thing that is not massively expensive, and it's kind of gives much more flexibility, so you can easily have 2-3 people on stage. But I digress. That's not the topic. this
Yes,
session.
anyway, interesting. Let's say that as far as I know, the equipment from Fosden is open source as well. So I think it shouldn't be.
It's open hardware, so you can actually. I would probably just steal a page or two from there, because we don't need those boxes. Like, we don't need recording in 20 rooms. We just need it once, and we need it to work reliably. And but perhaps there's some from the HDMI splitter. There's some page to copy from there.
Okay, and probably an audio mixer to mix the
Yeah, actually,
source.
I have that here. It's just that the microphone is USB, probably like yours. So we go directly into the laptop, which tends to be best quality if you have a static setup. The problem is if there's like 10 people with different laptops, and then the HDMI driver is missing, or cable is not long enough, and yeah.
Indeed, let's say that probably we will organize much better for the next year, and we'll also see. I would say anyway, meaning that it could be useful from my point of view, both if we are going to have an in-person or not. What I mean is that even if we would be, hey Dennis, to join and have an in-person meeting anyway, I would love to stream much better the contents on the internet. So such kind of stuff is anyway useful to have. So I would definitely add to the list for next year.
Yeah, I mean, and really, I mean, this can't stress that enough. That really have a fallback video pre-recorded is sort of a good idea.
Definitely. Okay, I guess there is nothing else. I can't see any other questions. Just got some comment about Thorsten come to LibreOffice Social instead from Guillem. But by the way, it's probably time to say hello for goodbye for today, unless you have something else to say to add.
No, nothing really. I think, as was suggested elsewhere, we should just go to the social channel with the beer in hand. So we will do that. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening in. Thanks also to you, Gabriele, for hosting and moderating. And I hope in the end the quality was kind of acceptable. We have the raw material, so on the off chance it's terrible, we can just re-record it and or kind of cobble it together with the good bits from Heiko and Clough and the not so great bits that I will re-record from here.
Sounds like very much work for Mike.
Indeed, but from my point of view, probably it would be, as I say, an halfway could be to just upload the videos, for example, from the GSOC students somewhere, and let them be available to download if someone
that's easy. If there's a way to have like multiple videos linked from the talk, that's the easiest. That's trivial.
Yes, I guess so. We'll see. By the way, thank you so much for having this speech, and hi Dennis. And I want to remember everyone who is still watching and listening that tomorrow morning we will start from room 1 at 12 European time, 10 UTC, even by Thorsten. And the title of the talk is quite. It sounds like an 80s advertising. LibreOffice in the browsers, live and color. So,
yeah, we will see about the color, but live it will be. See you around.
Okay. See you. Hi, Uwe.
Hi, everyone.
And thank you so much for all of your audience there, and all to the rest of the audience on the internet. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye for today.
See you. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.